You expected your partner na susunduin ka at ihahatid. Tapos hindi mo sinabi sa kanya na yung sundo na palang gusto mo, dapat pala may T sa dulo. Sundot hatid. So, kasi gusto mo araw-araw kang sinusundo at hinahatid. Ano nga ba ang dahilan kung bakit hindi nag-work ang isang relationship? And again, as what I have been discussing earlier, there are a lot of situations, a lot of reasons as to why it didn't. The ability for us to become a better individual, become a better partner, is for us to be open with realizations, with the mistakes that we might be doing. You don't have the right to always blame the mistakes to the other party. Always remember, if you somehow allowed yourself to be cheated on again and again, you have to take responsibility, because somehow part of the reason why you are in that pain is because of your mistake. You deserve what you tolerate. If you think that you are an individual whose main goal in a relationship is proving your partner wrong, it is definitely the reason as to why the relationship did not work. Being in a right relationship should also mean that somehow, at the end of the day, my friends, you have to realize that both of you should be pushing each other towards a better version of yourself. Put yourself in a situation where there is a boss, and that your boss is supposed to be supporting you, doing things for you in order for you to progress to your career. Kaya nga may manager ka eh. The main responsibility of a manager is to manage you, not to micromanage you. So same is true in relationship. If your partner has an absolute need to be right, it's a very difficult relationship to be in. In order for you to win a battle in a relationship, you have to understand that your main weapon is communication. And it's not just about communicating, it's about comprehension of the communication. The ultimate goal is for the relationship to prosper and to continue. Do not just tell me that I already told him the things that I want to tell him and he still doesn't listen. There might be an instance wherein he might not really understood what you're trying to say. Alam mo yun, you don't just tell them what is the end result. You tell them the purpose, the reason. You just don't point them to that direction. And letting the people realize that, my friends, would somehow allow them to be able to not just follow you, but to understand why they have to do the things that you say. Sinong nagkamali? Nagkulang o yung sumuko? I think ang nagkamali doon ay ang sumuko. Yung sumuko did not give the chance doon sa taong nagkulang sa kanya na punuin yung mga pagkukulang. There was no fair chance that was given. How can someone solve the problem if you did not tell them the problem in the first place? You have to communicate, you have to comprehend the communication, and never stop communicating with the intent of solving the problem. And at the end of the day, you both choose each other, whatever happens. Expectation itself is very dangerous because it is a vehicle to frustration. Part of the reason why most people gets frustrated kasi may expectation. Is that a justifiable means na okay, Kuya Darbs, kung sinasabi mong para hindi ka ma-frustrate, dapat hindi ka mag-expect? Of course not. There are certain levels of expectation, especially in a relationship. Mga kaibigan, at the end of the day, may responsibilidad kayo sa isa't isa. But here's the thing. One of the dangerous thing that you could do is to have an expectation where you don't voice it out. You could look like someone who is very entitled because you have certain expectation. Also, there is another situation where on the other side, it's pulling you to a direction where you have standards. So I think, my friends, the best way for you to understand things is to somehow voice out the expectations that you have with everybody or with your partner. You expected your partner na susunduin ka at ihahatid, tapos hindi mo sinabi sa kanya na yung sundo na palang gusto mo, dapat pala may T sa dulo. Sundot hatid. So, kasi gusto mo araw-araw kang sinusundo at hinahatid. Pero hindi mo sinabi yon. You're just thinking na dapat sunduin niya ako without even me telling him, and I expect him to do this 7 times a week. Hindi mo na siya mini-message, hindi mo na siya kinakausap ng maayos because you have expectation that was unspoken. It brought you frustration. And is that fair for your partner? I don't think so. I think that whenever you have something that you expect from your partner, you have to voice it out. Because somehow, if you don't tell them straight off, that is a huge reason as to why the relationship will not work. Because once you have full of frustration, you get fed up on things, hence you will quit. Paano naman po, Kuya Darbs, pag gusto mo pag-usapan yung pinag-awayan para marinig naman yung both side, pero lagi na lang sinasabi na wag na pag-usapan kasi mag-aaway lang daw. Pag nag-away kami, pinapalipas ang ilang araw na di mag-uusap. Tapos pag nag-uusap, gusto instant forgiveness agad. Ayaw niyang pag-usapan yung pinag-awayan. Kaya ako sumuko. Well, you have the right. Always try to communicate the reason as to why you guys fought. Pero again, when there is an open communication of the issue, the goal is to understand and to dissect. The goal should not be blaming the person on sino yung may mali doon sa sitwasyon na yon. The reason I think why most men or why most women don't want to talk about it, because siguro may habit ka into proving or shoving it into their face that they're wrong and you're right. And that is the reason why they don't wanted to discuss about it. But once you make the goal of the discussion finding out where both of you could have improved, and there's no judgment kung sino man yung may kasalanan, it's just that this is data for us not to fight again of the same issue, then I think that would have had a different outcome. Both souls should have the main purpose of being together whatever happens. If ever the goal is like that, every problem will always have a solution. Hindi pwede kasing ikaw lang tapos yung isa hindi. And you expect the relationship to work. It won't, my friend. Kuya Darbs, is it so hard to stop overthinking when your boyfriend was once a player, a flirt, and has been intimate with other girls before? We are both different people, but he says I change him, that he's changed. How to stop doubting whenever we aren't together? Ito rin ha, this is a very good advice that I'm gonna tell you. If ever you always think about this, kahit nasabihin mong pinipigilan mo yung sarili mo, there will always be side comments that would direct you from being and looking insecure. So those insecurities would lead you to losing this person in the first place. Do not let your present suffer the consequences of the past. In that, once there is no mistake made, why are you looking for one? Most of the time, that is the reason why most relationships don't last as well, is because we're too controlling. I think what you have to fix first before fixing your boyfriend is you fix your mindset. There's a possibility that he's changed. You're looking for a problem which is not there in the first place. Demands instead of dialogues, my friend. Entitlement is very dangerous if you mistake self-worth to entitlement. Once you think that you deserve the following things, you tend to demand. And that when there is demand, there is no dialogue. You tend to tell them that this is what I want, no questions asked. You tend to realize what the other party is in, and the other party would realize what situations you are in. And that is why it's very important for you to both have a dialogue before demanding. Ganito kasi yan, my friends. When you walk into a specific deal, if you try to price, if you wanted to find out what is the amount that you're supposed to quote this individual, there's a very huge chance where you might price a very low price. Let's say you said that you could have just priced this at 10,000. You think that 10,000 is a huge money, and you assume that that is what the client is capable of paying. Hence, you blurt it out that 10,000 is what I want. You fail to realize that the client actually has a budget of 100,000 pesos. And you lose your bargaining power because you just demanded that this is what I want from you without having the dialogue first. Alam mo na yung kung ano yung gusto mo eh. But it never hurts for you to have a dialogue first to the other party, asking the right question, discussing things, and somehow understanding them before you put in the demands, before you put in your expectation. Kala mo, yung tao na yon is only willing to be there with you for 3 months. Pero hindi mo alam, yung tao pala na yun is very serious with you. And he sees you as the person that he wants to be with for the rest of your life. But since you assume that since ganito siya, naririnig ko, na playboy daw siya, you assume na, okay, 3 months lang. And then, you potentially lost the opportunity to be with this person for the rest of your life because you were acting as if you'll only have him for 3 months. Demands instead of dialogue, my friends. I hope you understand that. There is a saying that I always say, you're talking with a fool when the person is telling you to trust me. Trust is not given, it is earned. So ibig sabihin nun, you don't ask the trust right away. You just ask for an opportunity from that person so that they would trust you. In the relationship, when there is a betrayal of trust, is that automatically means that it's the end? Of course not. Everybody makes mistakes. Human beings are flawed, and that's what makes us beautiful. That's what makes us great as a human being. The capacity to make mistakes and the capacity to somehow change the course once the mistake was realized. And we learn from that. There will always be situations where you can still recover even if the trust was gone. But somehow, as much as you can, take care of it. The trust is something that is untangible, but it's very difficult if it's not there. So my friends, if ever there is someone who betrayed your trust, or if you betrayed someone's trust, that is the reason, major reason as to why a relationship will not freaking work. And one of the foundations of a strong relationship, aside from communication, is trust. I think that is one of the greatest foundation of love, and that is to trust someone not to destroy you, even if they have the power to. Real talk tayo. If ever you are in a situation where the relationship didn't work, it's okay. I mean, at the end of the day, my friends, there are still situations where you will fail, not just in relationship, but in life in general. But the ultimate failure is when you stop trying. It's okay because not every individual is perfect. Not every individual has the capacity to be strong from the very beginning. A master was once a disaster and nobody started great. What's important is you have the self-audit, you have the capacity to accept the mistakes that you did, and you have the wisdom to understand yourself so much. Just continue on improving, continue to self-audit, and have that self-awareness so that somehow one day you will be able to become the right person for someone. My friends, thank you very much for joining me here tonight. I am always happy to bring you guys value. And if ever you want to support Real Talk Darbs, please go ahead, support me by watching my wisdom bars or listening to my wisdom bars with Real Talk Darbs. That is the podcast that I have. If you missed this, you can go ahead, check in Spotify. Follow me there. Leave a review sa Apple Podcast. It's going to be there as well. I aim to be at least on the top 1 podcast in the entire Philippines. Maraming salamat po sa lahat na nakinig, nanood. And I hope that somehow, my friends, you're able to realize a lot of things.